Today's video is going to be one that's been on my list for a while that I haven't done. Free-to-play teams for Spires of Ascension, for each individual element. I'm going to talk about each summoner, because they are different for each, because all summoners bring something different to the game. If you like all my content and videos, hit the sub button, hit the like button, hit that bell dingy dingy thing so you know when I post a video. Let's go, baby. Tip of the day. It's my daughter Olivia's 9th birthday today. Happy birthday, my girl. Hey, the more you know. Alright, currently Celestial I'm at 72. But for every element I did beat floor 50. I kind of took a break from them. But I do plan on pushing them more either this week or next week. But I'm going to tell you the best free-to-play teams for each element and each summoner. I'm going to make this somewhat quick because I got daddy duties. First I want to talk about the biggest challenges of Spires. The biggest challenge is probably power level for the majority of players. However, you can beat a lot of these floors even with the penalty. There's a lot of healing going on, so you may need a heal block at some point. Monsters are getting resurrected. Another challenge is buffs like shields, immunity, etc. You need to have some kind of buff stripper. Orbia has one, Kina has one, Cleaf does not. Same with healing. There's a lot of healing, like I said. You need to bring a heal block, but who doesn't have that? That's Kina. That's why I say every summoner is different. Another challenge in Spires is the time limit. You may be able to survive, but you might not be able to beat that time limit. So you have to bring enough damage as well. And last but not least is the topic of this video, bringing the right monsters. And as free to play, that can be difficult depending on what you have pulled, but I am here to tell you which monsters are best for each summoner for free to play. We'll go by each element really quickly. We'll talk about what each summoner brings and what it lacks. Number 1, my girl Orbia. Orbia brings a ton of damage. She can strip buffs on Light Staff. She can heal block on Dark Staff. So what you need with Orbia are tanks and heals. I'm going to give you 3-star, 4-star, and even free to play 5-star options, as well as one notable mention 5-star. Hopefully you have pulled that 5-star. Let's talk about fire. For fire 3-star units, you have Bulldozer, or if you need an underrated tank, it's Fire Golem. 4-star units, obviously for Orbia, it's Chloe. And another secondary great choice is Raccoony. 5-star free-to-play option, Fire Beetle, he's in Monster Story. Has a provoke, attack down, crit damage down. Another great option if you have is Fire Panda Warrior. You did have the option of getting him in the past if you bought that. Also a PvP kind of meta too. Water Spire, you got Water Garuda Konamiya. Heals and decreases skill cooldown. Another amazing frontline is Water Mummy Nubia. Has a ton of crowd control, which crowd control is huge in Spires. Water Inagami Akaru is a great water tank for Orbia. Provokes has a counter attack, which makes him do his second skill, which is based off of defense. Need the heals, Water Howl Lulu. Has an AoE heal, has a cleanse, has a single target heal with a defense buff. 5-star free-to-play option if you played since day one is Water Desert Queen Bastet. However, a notable mention if you have pulled, which there was a banner, and that's Water Khmer Teor. A great tank who has provoke, defense buff for the whole team, and does some nasty damage too. On to Windspire for Orbia is Wind Pixie Shannon, a frontline healer of Wind Yeti Rakaja. 4-star options, which is a free-to-play Monster Story, is Cilia. She is highly underrated in my opinion. 4-star healer option is Wind Epicon Priest Michelle. Has a res, has an AoE heal, and can decrease debuffs on you, while also increasing your buffs a level. No real free-to-play 5-star Wind options here. Maybe Chasun if you chose that for the selective summon. But you really need a tank for Wind with Provoke. And that's why I talk about Wind Beetle Knight Sir Actian. I feel he is super underrated. He brings so many things to the team. A defense buff for the team, a silence to the enemies. Removes defense up and replaces it with defense down. A very underrated tank, and I wish I would have pulled on Wind Beetle Knight. Light Spire for Orbia, Light Garuda Tian. Secondary option, Light Fairy Neil, especially if you only have like one frontline monster. However, if you want a 4-star option that you get for free, it's Shushu from the Secret Dungeon. But if you need an amazing tank, Light Vagabond Darien is your choice. You will have a lot of provokes coming from him. His second skill is an AoE provoke and applies defense buff to all allies. Include that with his passive, he can re-provoke every 15 seconds. His basic attack also increases the provoke length as well. And the 5-star free-to-play option is obviously Light Heart Magician Celia. Get her from guild raids. She brings so much to the table and she's free. Notable mention if you pulled Light Chimera. Dark Spire for Orbia. Zinka, in my opinion, is a really good 3-star front line. You can go obviously Helia for more speedrun. Dark Lizard you get from the Secret Dungeon is actually a pretty decent front line. Defense based, has defense break, and also decreases damage when attacked by an enemy. Really the only good 4-star healer is Cha-Cha. Or you can go with the 5-star Monster Story Dark Heart Magician. She is your healer for Dark Spire. Notable mention, Dark Beast Monk. Alright, on to Cleaf. Cleaf is your tank and your provoker. What he needs from your monsters is heals, buff strips, and damage dealers. For Cleaf, I feel like Fire Fairy is a little bit better than it would be for Orbia. She's ranged, she can remove attack buffs and defense up. You could bring Bulldozer in, but I think there's some other choices that are better. These are mainly 4 stars though. Again, Cleaf needs support and heals, so Chloe for sure. You can use Rakuni as well. But in my opinion, for Cleaf, Spectra is probably a good choice for Fire, just because of the remove beneficial effect. Unless you got the right 5-star to remove beneficial effects, there's no one else for Fire for 4 stars or 3 stars. For damage dealers, you can actually bring Fire Raven Karambit, because Cleaf will be provoking most of the time anyway. Notable mention if you have Fire Desert Queen, definite must pick for Cleaf. Water Spire for Cleaf, definitely Konamiya for the heals. And a notable mention for 3 stars, just for Cleaf, is Water Pixie Casey. She can do some nasty damage with Cleaf, and that's because her second skill does more damage on an enemy with Provoke. 4-star options, obviously Water Howl, Lulu, you need some heals. Now again, Water has the same issue with Fire for removing beneficial effects, so unless you have a 5-star that I'm gonna mention soon, Water Vagabond Allen is a good choice to remove beneficial effects for Cleaf. Honestly, you don't even have to build him like a tank. You can build him like a HB crit damage kind of build with high attack speed, whatever. As long as an enemy is provoked by either Allen or Cleaf, he has a 70% chance to remove a beneficial effect. A 5-star mention is Water Desert Queen Bastet if you are an OG and have her. She'll bring the support you need. But I have 2 notable mentions if you have these Nat 5s. It really just depends on what you bring to the team. Praha is a notable mention for Water. AoE Sleep removes beneficial effects, has the heals, plus she is my favorite. Second notable choice is just literally any water damage dealer for a 5-star. You need damage to go up in the floors. Whether that's Water Ifrit or if it's Water Vampire because he has a lot of AoE. But Water Ifrit Theomars is probably the best bet because of the Endure. Windspire for Cleaf, you got Shannon Wind Pixie. Rakaja for the heals, if you'd rather bring Michelle for the heals instead. But what you're really lacking is damage and buff stripping. Ramahan is a good choice and can put out some decent damage. If you want just straight damage, that's Naomi Wind Martial Cat. Again, no real free-to-play 5-star choice. But if you have Wind Sylph Shimate, really good choice, has 2 AoEs and can remove beneficial effects on both skills. And if there's no beneficial effects, his second skill does more damage. Light Spire Cleaf Tion, Light Fairy Neil again. These are easy obtainable healers for Cleaf. Lauren is probably a really good choice for Light Spire for Cleaf. Defense, break, buff strips, and a heal block. Or you can bring Lynn in for damage. The more HP the enemy has, the better. And again, if you don't want to use 3-star healers, you got Shushu. However, you get a 5-star healer for free, and that's Light Heart Magician, who also has an AoE sleep. The sleep is just so underrated in my opinion. Notable mention if you have Light Desert Queen. Dark Spire Cleaf, 2 underrated 3 stars, which even combined are crazy good together. Dark Grim Reaper Thrain and Dark Fairy Soren. They both stun, Soren does more damage on enemies that are stunned, and Thrain brings damage over time, which he does more damage to people that have damage over time. Soren is range, which is a little bit better than Grim Reaper, but Grim Reaper can put out some crazy damage as a warrior. You can also bring in Helia, but I would suggest bringing another damage dealer with Helia, which for a 4-star option could be Cassie the Dark Cowgirl, and obviously the free-to-play choice is Dark Heart Magician. However, if you have Dark Vampire Caddis, I would definitely use him in Dark Spire for Cleaf. Last but not least, all the Kina users. I'm sorry you're last. Kina has heals, she has strips, she needs a front line, and she needs damage. She also needs a heal block. Bulldozer, a good damage dealer who is front line, a little bit tankier because defense based. Fire Grim Reaper, a frontline melee unit who has heal block, which is actually pretty good for her. If you need a secondary healer that is a front line, you could do Fire Harpoo Colleen. She has a heal block and an attack buff for your damage dealers. If you need a damage dealer, use Fire Lich. He can pull all the enemies together and has defense penetration on that skill. He also has its own self-attack and crit rate up buffs. Not only that, but pulls. If an enemy is casting a spell and it's like a longer duration, a pull can pull them in and cancel that skill and it's off cooldown. Really good in PvP too. And free choices for Fire 5 stars. You got Fire Raven Karambit, and you have a tank and Fire Beetle Knight. Notable mention though to Saurian if you got him. Water Spire for Kina, you got Water Frankenstein Tractor. Can't be defense broke. Front line has an AoE provoke and an AoE stun. Another great front line for Kina is Nubia. I talked about him multiple times already. 4-star free to play damage dealer Water Amazon Ellen. Does more damage based off the enemy's HP, has AoE, and can freeze the units. A great frontline tank like I talked about before, Water Inagami. And we got Water Werewolf as a good frontline too. Has a defense break and can do good damage on that skill. His first skill, Heal, is just a plus. It's got a high cooldown, it's got a high mana cost. Really, it's just an attack speed buff, honestly. But it is a secondary heal that can come in clutch. Notable mention, if you have pulled, is Water Hell Lady Beth. And the reason I picked Beth is because of her silence. But honestly, the silence is huge. You're going to run into some bosses that are problems, but if the enemy's silenced, they can't do any skills. And her second skill applies a silence, and her first skill can increase the duration of that silence. And I say that because there are zero heal blocks or even 0 bleeds in the water element. So if you use silence, they can't heal. Wind Spire Kina, it's Wind Golem Ragion, or Ragayon, whatever. Rigatoni is a really good frontline tank. Self-sustain on his passive, has a defense buff and immunity and an AoE provoke. A good frontline for Windspire. You can also use Rakaja because of his heal block, and he has an AoE heal, which is a huge heal. But having 2 heals is not bad, then you can focus on damage. 4-star option for damage is Cilia, Naomi again, and a good frontline tank for Kina is Mav. Mav applies skill acceleration to all allies, which is huge, and has an AoE provoke with a heal over time to himself. Again, you know the deal with Wind 5 stars, but if you have Wind Panda Warrior, if you have Feng Yan and you're a Kina user, I would highly recommend using him. He is not weak to any element regarding his damage, but he removes all his harmful debuffs, applies continuous recovery to himself. Light Spire Kina, you got Light Golem, Mr. Drago, his passive is good. You need multi-hits to kill him. He's got self-defense buff and immunity and an AoE provoke. Light Living Armor Silver is a good damage dealing choice because defense break and a heal block. And what's cool is he's actually a defensive based assassin, which there is only a handful of defense based assassins. Again, a good frontline for Kina is Light Vagabond Darien. You got Lyn as a damage option, free to play monster story. But in my eyes, the best damage dealer for light 4 stars for Kina is Light Mystic Lich Linda. Monsters can't revive when she kills them with her second skill, and she has a heal block. And both of these skills are AoE. And 5-star choice, obviously Light Heart Magician again. If you want a secondary healer with AoE sleep and some debuffs to the enemy, great 5-star choice. Notable mention if you got him, Light Sylph, probably the second best damage dealer in the game. Final stretch, Dark Spire for Kina. 3-star options, you got Thrain, and a new one, Dark Golem Maggie. But in my opinion, a better tank if you have built from Secret Dungeons, Dark Penguin Knight. Mr. Kuna has the AoE Provoke, Defense Break AoE, has a stun on his basic attack, and if the enemy is provoked, he heals from his basic attack as well. But a damage dealer is probably what you're looking for Dark, and if you have Dark Lich, definitely use him. Crazy amount of damage. But again, if you don't have Dark Lich, go Dark Cowgirl, Secret Dungeons. You can also go Dark Amazon because of the heal block, or someone that I actually want, Dark Harpoo Serene. Her second skill is a single target which hits 4 times, has a chance to apply defense break 4 times, can recover damage if the enemy has heal block, and what's crazy is her first skill is an AoE that can apply heal block to everyone. Low mana cost, and an assassin with an AoE with a heal block is pretty huge. Again, notable mention if you need that secondary heal, you got Darkheart Magician as the 5-star. However, if you have the best AoE Dark Natural 5-star damage dealer, AoE I'm saying, Dark Polar Queen Lydia. If you have her, you should be using her already. And that's it for today's video. Just wanted to bring out the best monsters for each element for each summoner. I don't want you to waste resources on someone thinking that they might be good for Spire, because really what it comes down to is, like I said in the beginning of the video, each summoner is different, and you got to deal with a lot of healing from the enemy, a lot of reses from the enemy, a lot of buffs, and you got to do enough damage for the time limit. So you got to have the right monsters. If you like this video, make sure to sub, like, hit that dingy bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!